Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining for week number 3 of this weekly streaming science news and news for humanity and call in debate stream. So, as you can see in the live chat, the link to call in is joined. I will first go through the big news that happened this week for science and for humanity, and then I will be opening it up for call ins to ask a question, share an insight about what we went over or about other interesting topics, or offer a debate or an argument if you have one for any of the videos or the news that I'm sharing today. So it was a big week in science news, guys. I cannot wait to get to some of these science stories from this last week. There's a lot of really exciting stuff to cover. Smack dab, do not spoil. Yes, we will be getting to nitroplasts. But first, I want to talk about the big news for humanity this week. Actually, before that, I just want to say I've been very busy the last few days recording a bunch of very fun stream collaborations. I was on Reasons to Doubt talking with Zach Hancock and Jordan about race realism. That video is going to be coming out in the next week or two. I was with Mr. Anderson dissecting one of my previous debates with Standing for Truth. That should be coming out next week. So a lot of really fun collaborations. I've been very busy with streams this week, so it's been pretty fun. And then the big news, of course, that you probably have all heard of, that everybody's been talking about. We'll just touch on it briefly and then move on because it was kind of a little bit of a nothing burger. But you know what I'm probably going to talk about here. It was Iran drones versus the Iron Dome. That's right. So, like we touched on last week, Iran did end up responding to Israel's drone strike of the embassy in Syria. And they responded by launching an entire fleet of drones, and then also missiles were timed to correspond with the drones. And this was, whenever I was seeing this happen, first of all, I mean, everybody was going crazy for World War III. But this was very much struck me as being one of the most 21st century military exchanges that I think we've seen so far. I mean, Israel easily has one of the most advanced missile defense systems with the Iron Dome in the world. And Iran has been having a burgeoning drone industry. For those of you that don't know, I mean, they've been having to deal with sanctions for many years now, and they've been getting around that by making drone technology much cheaper than the alternative. So I think there's like over 20 countries that are using either drones that are from Iran or drones that are based on the Iranian model. So this is like a huge industry for them, and they kind of, want to show that what they can do. I think it was sort of an exhibition as much as a move to placate their people, so that they have a strong response to this. I mean, this was multifold, but I think they kind of wanted to spur on their drone industry and show what Iranian drones can do, because they have been used in other countries, though. Like, just even, I think earlier this year, there was an Iranian drone involved in Sudan. Sudan is also undergoing a pretty major conflict at the moment, a big civil war. And Iranian drones are being used on the side of the Sudanese government there. They've been being used in the Ukraine conflict. Russia has been using Iranian drone technology. So Iranian drones have been well used around the world. And this was their big exhibition out to the world, actually, from Iran. They sent a fleet of like 100 drones, all of which were intercepted. I mean, you guys probably know, but like 99% of them were intercepted by a combination of Israeli, US, UK, and Jordan fighters. So it ended up, I don't even know if there were any casualties. There was some property damage to some military bases. And yeah, Israel is they say that they're going to make a response, which maybe is not the correct move in game theory, but I guess it depends on what their response is. Within game theory, the most successful strategy is the tit for tat strategy. So that's where you are swift to make a response, but you're also very forgiving afterwards. You sort of mirror the last stance of your opponent. So, it can devolve into this sort of endless stream of retaliations, but the most successful strategies at some point cut out that endless stream of retaliations, and then there is peace and both parties can succeed. So in game theory, those are the most successful strategies. So hopefully both Iran and Israel know that, and Israel's response will be, you know, de-escalatory. That's all we can hope for the region, because nobody wants to see this evolve into a regional war. I thought Iran played this pretty smartly. They gave plenty of warning for their attack. The drones took multiple hours to get to their targets, as well as I think they told some of the countries that the drones would be passing over, like Iraq and Turkey. They gave forward warning to, and of course, the U.S. knew about this in advance. So did Israel. So there was time to make an appropriate defense measures, and casualties were completely minimized. So it's about as bloodless of a retaliation, with both sides able to claim some sort of victory. Israel can say, our defense system worked, we shut all this down. Iran can say, look at this, we did some damage to military bases in Israel. 1% of our drones made it through the Iron Dome. Either way, either side can claim some sort of tactical victory here. Hopefully, we see de-escalation from here. The Biden administration seems to have tried to temper Israel's response to try to de-escalate this situation, which I thought was, honestly, one of the best foreign policy diplomatic moves that I've seen so far from the Biden administration. So I was actually impressed with how they handled this whole thing this week. Hopefully, we can see this conflict de-escalating. I did see, unfortunately, that today the U.S. has indicated that it will be voting no and attempting to veto the UN motion to recognize Palestinian statehood, which is super disappointing because honestly, I mean, we've heard Biden's and his administration's rhetoric about having a path to eventual Palestinian statehood, but it's like, if you're just going to vote no and try to veto it when an actual path opens up, is that just empty rhetoric, or is there some further tactical analysis for why now is not the right time for that? Are they trying to use it for leverage for Israel? I don't know all the diplomatic machinations there, but it was very disappointing to see that. So that was sort of the big international news that kind of dominated the whole cycle over the weekend. We also saw domestically that the very first time that a U.S. president has been taken to court, basically federal court, or I guess this was a state court in New York, but pretty big news. But at the same time, this is going to be going on for like 4 to 8 weeks. I expect it to suck up a lot of air out of the news cycle for that time. And it's only just getting started. I mean, I'm not really going to be one to go through and get excited about, jury selections and everything like that. And just going through the details day by day. This is going to be a pretty long process. We don't really know how this is going to affect the polling at all, or whether or not Trump will be convicted of this. This is essentially for the hush money payment paid to porn star Stormy Daniels. So yeah, that is happening. I got to say, not the most exciting to me. I mean, even Trump fell asleep in his own trial. So I can't exactly blame him for that, though, honestly. I mean, this is going to be a slog for the next few weeks until we get to some sort of verdict at the end of it. So yeah, that was the major news I thought this week. Also, Justice Clarence Thomas just sort of disappeared on Monday without any attempt at an explanation for where he went. But then he came back on Tuesday, so nobody knows what happened on Monday to him. He is the oldest of all the Supreme Court justices, so I don't know. We'll see what happened there. And yes, it's true. Smack Dab did make the comment that there was this Mayorkas impeachment that essentially didn't even get any amount of attention in the Senate, just instantly shot down as soon as it passed through the House, quite hilariously. Yes, but let's get on to the science news, because that's where all the cool and exciting news from the last week was coming out. on multiple different fronts. So first of all, before we get to any of the biology and paleontology news, I wanted to start off with this was a huge week for black holes. I feel like black holes were all over the news this week for multiple different reasons. The very first one was that we got a new black hole neighbor this week. That's right. Scientists found that not a super massive black hole. Okay, this is a pretty big black hole. It's 33 solar masses, so 33 times more massive than the sun. But nobody knew it existed, and it's only 2,000 light years away from the Earth within our own galaxy. So this was majorly surprising. The fact that we had not seen this until last week. Um, just kind of huge and mind blowing within our own galactic backyard that such a monster could be lurking is really exciting stuff. And then figuring out how this thing formed so massively just in our own backyard. This was a very exciting and surprising discovery. Now, this is like nowhere near the size of like the black hole in the center of our galaxy, Sagittarius A star. That's like 4 million solar masses or something. This is 33 solar masses. So it's still a pretty massive black hole, but not quite as massive as our main galactic center. I also just wanted to share an interesting black hole fact that I learned last week. This is unrelated. This is not actually news, but it just kind of blew my mind whenever I heard about it. Um, so you guys are familiar with Hawking radiation. That's the sort of radiation that black holes emit over time. I know that you hear that nothing escapes a black hole. Technically, these particles of radiation are not escaping from within the event horizon, but they are generated by the energy of the black hole on the outside of the event horizon, and then are released from there. So this helps to solve the information paradox from a black hole. But it also gives it a slight thermal energy. So their black holes are very, very cold, but they do have a slight temperature. And essentially, this releases energy from the black hole, causing it to shrink over time. But so this is the very interesting part, right? This is very, very, very slight. Like the smaller the black hole gets, the more fraction of its energy is lost to this Hawking radiation. So these really large black holes are really not losing very much energy at all. In fact, they're almost all a net gain of energy. And this was the fun fact that I learned this week, was that for black holes that are around the mass of one sun, so even smaller than this one we found in our neighbor, the total amount of Hawking radiation that's released from these black holes is smaller than the amount of cosmic microwave background radiation that these black holes are absorbing. So I know that this makes total sense. Maybe you guys think that this is obvious, and but I didn't actually think of this until I read that fact that yeah, like a black hole's like a staple of its diet is cosmic microwave background radiation, just the radiant photons from the Big Bang that just suffuse everywhere. Like 1% of the static that you see on your television is coming from this cosmic microwave background. And it's just crazy to me that black holes are just passively eating this stuff all the time. And it's actually more than enough to compensate the amount of energy that is lost by most large black holes. That fun fact just blew my mind earlier this week. And here we go. Yahooligan donates $2 Canadian, a donation for you to get memberships going. You know, I really did think that I had memberships for the longest time. I went through the process. I thought I set up memberships, and then people have been telling me that they don't see it on their end and that they can't become members. So this whole time I thought that you guys just did not want to become members of the channel, and I was like, well, dang, if nobody wants to. But I made really cool emotes. Like there's like a face palming Jesus. You guys can spam based or spam cringe. And like I was really proud of all the emotes that I put in there and the different tiers and stuff. And then I guess I don't know what fell through. I need to go back and fix that because yeah, I think the memberships should be fun, and hopefully some of you guys want to become members. So and yeah, Smack Dab asked, would JWST be able to detect Hawking radiation? No, not even close. I mean, this stuff is like so like low energy. And yeah, it's just not designed to detect Hawking radiation. I don't think it's in the infrared. It's probably like very low energy. So yes, That was one headline that black holes were in, but there was another one that maybe didn't make the mainstream news, but I saw it circulating around like some physicists that I was really excited about, and it's this paper here in theoretical astrophysics, and it's about the entropy of black holes, and it's like a new breakthrough in calculating this entropy. So for those of you that don't know, one of the reasons, I mean, I just mentioned Stephen Hawking. One of the reasons why Stephen Hawking is so famous is because in the 70s he teamed up with Bekenstein. So Hawking and Bekenstein calculated the entropy of a black hole. Entropy is commonly, people will say it's like chaos or disorder, but entropy has a few different ways of describing what it is. But one of the most intuitive ones is from a statistical point of view. So, like Boltzmann figured this out, that you can describe entropy by summing up all the different microstates that a system can be in. That means like for any object, it's made up of atoms, and these atoms can be in multiple different positions. And the entropy of an object is how many different potential positionings and arrangements of these atoms are possible. So if you sum up all those different microstates that the atoms could be in, that is a way to calculate its entropy. But so even though the entropy was calculated for black holes in the 1970s, it's like a very strange method involving imaginary time calculations. It's not at all intuitive. And from the 70s until last week, no one had been able to show the microstates of a black hole. In order to calculate the entropy using the microstates of a black hole, nobody had been able to do that calculation. But then last week, that paper came out, and they actually arrived at the correct value of entropy for black holes, matching Hawking-Bekenstein's calculations. They got the right answer, but they did it by using a summation of these microstates. And their math is like incredibly weird and interesting, like the actual math that they used to do this. So the microstates they used were an infinite number of dust shells inside the black hole, and these dust shells in their calculations were basically instantaneously collapsing into like nothing. So like it's just like they're just using all these concentric rings of dust shells at different mass values and different radii values for all the possible values that these things could take. And they summed them all up. And because of like quantum wormholes, there's a certain overlap between these infinitesimally small and numerous dust shells. And so when they add them all up, you actually end up getting a finite value for the number of possible microstates. And that gives you the exact entropy that agrees with the previous Hawking-Bekenstein calculations. It's like, what? Huh? I mean, like, this is talking about the interior of a black hole. And, like, this is distinctly non-physical. Like, this does not have a good physical analog for these dust shells. I mean, they even mentioned that in their calculations, they could do this with any type of matter. They just arbitrarily chose dust. You could use any kind of matter for these calculations, and you'd get the same answer at the end. And these are, like, instantaneously collapsing. Like, they basically have no lifetime. And there's an infinite number of them, and they're connected with quantum wormholes. It's like crazy, the calculation, but you get the right answer. It kind of reminds me of like the wave function in quantum mechanics, where it doesn't actually correspond to anything physically going on there, but it does give you the right answers that correspond with proper observables. So really, really interesting calculation. I don't know how to interpret this. I mean, some people are saying that it's like a mathematical artifact, that there's something in their calculations that could be hinting at some deeper physicality. Others are saying that it's not physical, but it's still getting the right answer. This is very, very intriguing to me, and this is the first time that anybody has been able to calculate the microstates of a black hole to calculate its entropy. So like, this was really, really fun to see and to read this paper this year, even though it was, the math was very, very dense. So yeah, black holes were in the news all over the place. And then finally, in the sphere of astrophysics, there was this was not a big result or anything. I just kind of wanted to highlight this as being potentially interesting. There was a convening of cosmologists at the Royal Society this week to challenge the standard cosmological model, the lambda CDM model. And before all the creationists and flat earthers out there get too excited, this was not along that route. But yeah, so talking about what is the current status of the lambda CDM model, what are the evidence that support it, and what are the anomalies that make you question it. And so I thought this was just a very exciting convention for cosmologists. I mean, there were some really big names. I mean, Jim Peebles there did the introduction. He's a Nobel Prize winner for like the cosmic microwave background. There were some really big names here. And a lot of what they were going over were things like the newly discovered Big Ring, which may not even exist. It also might be an artifact of the data, but this ginormous cluster of density in the universe called the Big Ring. It's in the shape of a ring. I think it was discovered in January, and it's way too big to be accounted for by any standard model calculations. Now, there are cosmologists that say that this Big Ring does not actually exist, that it's just an artifact in the data processing. The woman who discovered this Big Ring gave a talk at this conference. Also, what was probably the biggest headline from the conference actually was here by Wendy Friedman, talking about new JWST observations and how they address the Hubble tension. So for those of you that don't know, the Hubble tension is like one of the biggest unknown problems in current cosmology. Like you've got like dark matter, dark energy. What are those? And then you've got the Hubble tension. That's like the three of the biggest unsolved problems. Like if you solve those, you win a Nobel Prize, basically. And Wendy Friedman was giving a presentation about how the new JWST data potentially has two new methods of measuring supernovas as a distance ladder. And when you actually are able to include those newer methods in with the older, more established method of using Cepheid stars, then the Hubble tension decreases in significance. And all of a sudden, it doesn't look like that strong of a tension. The tension comes from measuring this value for H naught, like the Hubble constant. And if you measure it using supernovas, you get one value. And if you measure it using cosmic microwave backgrounds or baryon acoustic oscillations, you use other methods, you get a different value. And there's no overlap. And so Wendy Friedman at this conference was able to present new JWST data that was showing, potentially a way of resolving this tension and getting the values to overlap again. So this was very exciting. There's a lot to question here as well. Like, the Cepheid star calculation is very, very established. We know pretty well that, it's very established. There's not a lot of holes to pick. People have been trying to tear it apart. And the method has stood for decades. These newer methods are not as tried and true, so maybe they will end up being incorrect and the Hubble tension will still stand. But this is what was making the headlines and getting astrophysicists excited from this Royal Society meeting. So I don't know, maybe there could be some good things that come out of here. Maybe we'll see, newer versions of lambda CDM come out of this conference. I wouldn't necessarily get my hopes up. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that cosmologists are working on all the time. But this conference just caught my eye as being worthy of highlighting. Okay, so now let's move on to some new biology, life science, paleontology news. There was just so much awesome science news this week, guys. I was just really excited to talk about all this stuff with you. So this one I found to be very, very cool, very exciting. Let's check it out here. So a new underwater mountain range off the coast of Easter Island, off the coast of Chile, was explored. Several of was the first time in science that they'd gone to these. They're called seamounts. So these underwater mountain ranges, these underwater mountains are called seamounts. some of these had not been surveyed by science before. And there were like 50 new species that were discovered living on these seamounts. They were like a huge hub of biodiversity, both like, you know, young young fish or young organisms sheltering here, migratory patterns. Like this was just a lot of biodiverse activities going on at these seamounts, and the pictures that they provide of some of these new species are just incredible. Like I think this species that was known before, but I had not seen this picture of it. It's a siphonophore, also called, and this is real, a flying spaghetti monster. Incredible. Look at this thing. Like, what? Did not know about siphonophores before this article, and like they have quickly become like one of my new favorites. I mean, look at this guy. He's like an alien tentacle cyclops monster. He just looks so cool. I mean, like this straight up is the most alien looking organism I've seen on Earth. I mean, I like it was just really captured my imagination when I saw the picture of this thing. Shout out to Ember for sharing this article and Bree for going over it. And yeah, I did not know about this until they shared it with me, and it was really really exciting. And they even had the deepest discovered instance of photosynthesis. Like they found an algae that was photosynthetic way down in the depths, deeper than any one had been found before, and that was awesome. Let me see. I think I there's a video of some of these finds here that I wanted to highlight because it was like maybe it won't come out so well in the stream, but you guys should check out this video if you have the time because it was incredibly HD footage from this expedition. So here is what they sent down to get some of this footage, and like let's just watch a couple seconds of this together and just look at some of the footage that they captured in these underwater unexplored seamounts.
Que el mismo Rob nos demostró a los 600,
Look
a
at
los
that.
900,
I mean, it's like
a
such
diferentes
HD footage.
profundidades, biodiversidad que jamás habíamos visto.
It's like
Ha
a
sido una
whole other
experiencia
world down there.
sumamente increíble.
And
Cada
I
monte
think
es
that
un
they
mundo
keep
diferente.
showing, yeah,
En los últimos montes cercanos a Rapa Nui, cada
I mean, some of these
centímetro es
shapes
un lugar
are
distinto.
just so alien.
Among the most important discoveries and observations that we made was that we observed photosynthetic organisms deeper than they have been recorded anywhere else in the world.
Encontrar algas tan profundo, encontrar corales que son indicadores de zonas donde se puede hacer fotosíntesis. Y eso cambia totalmente el escenario y el hábitat y los animales que pueden vivir abajo. Cuando tú tienes cordilleras, hacen que haya acumulación.
Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but that just gave me like such an amazing feeling of like adventure and exploration and discovery. Like 50 new species from these underwater mountain ranges previously unexplored by science. I mean, wow, it just doesn't get any cooler than that. But it actually kind of does get cooler than that because like the science news this week, guys, just kept delivering bangers after bangers. There were 2 new paleontological discoveries that I just had to highlight this week. And it just blows my mind how cool some of these are. So the first one, let's talk about a new giant prehistoric snake found in India. They're calling it Vasuki indicus. Vasuki, I think, is a reference to Hindu mythology. I think it's a serpent of Shiva. And this thing is massive. Like they have it here. It's T-Rex sized, bus size. I mean, this snake is giving like Titanoboa a run for its money. Like Titanoboa was the previous record holder for the largest snake in the history of our planet that we knew about. And this thing, you know, is a potential rival. I don't think that it was complete enough of a skeleton for them to make any distinct or like they can only give a range of its length. And they say that the vertebrae of Titanoboa are slightly bigger, but this thing is on the same kind of scale or range. And yeah, there's just a little bit of unknowns. We need to wait for more samples to be found to say really for sure. But yeah, just really amazing stuff. Thomas, it's interesting that you asked that because I was actually supposed to be debating Nathan Thompson later this month on Flat Earth. So I have not heard from Nathan actually. So maybe if I can try to remember, I'll reach out to him and see if he's still alive. Thank you for the reminder. Now, for our other paleontological discovery this week, this one is even potentially cooler than giant snakes. I know. I did not think that I would be saying a sentence like that, but here we go. Now, this is probably the largest marine reptile ever discovered. The analysis of its bones was put out this last week. It's a giant ichthyosaur from the UK. And yeah, apparently they had discovered back in 2018 a jawbone, but it wasn't in good enough condition for them to really come out with a new species. But now this new jawbone that was discovered in the UK back in 2020, they document here and they name a new species, Ichthyotitan severnensis, which is an awesome freaking name. So this thing is definitely the largest marine reptile ever known, but it's also potentially, it has the potential. I mean, this is just from a jawbone. We need more samples, but it could potentially be one of the largest animals ever, like rivaling a blue whale from today. So, yeah, a giant new blue whale sized animal has dropped. Uh, this thing was so cool. And actually, what I found to be the coolest part of this was that the person who found it was an 11-year-old girl. She was on the beach looking for fossils with her dad, and she actually was the first one to find the little bits of this ginormous ichthyosaur jawbone. Personally, if I was her, I would want them. I think they should have named it after her. I don't think that they did, but maybe she's just being humble. But if an 11-year-old girl discovering potentially the largest animal skeleton ever, that was just so cool. I mean, like, this is an amazing find in paleontology. Just an ichthyosaur that large, Ichthyotitan. I mean, just dripping with cool. And then I've got one more science headline that one of you in the chat called out earlier, and that is the nitroplast. And let's break down what that is, because that's really cool in the context of the evolution debate, because this comes up often. So you remember how this is the actual paper itself, which is, I mean, really well done, but it's a little bit dry. I mean, they kind of buried their lead a little bit here, I'm not going to lie, with a metabolic trade-offs constrain the cell size ratio in a nitrogen fixing symbiosis. And we can break down what that means. But let me actually share the kind of like the press release as it was documented in the Berkeley lab. So, yeah, scientists discovered the first nitrogen-fixing organelle, but it's even bigger than that, right? So here, the organelle here, which if you don't recall, high school biology, an organelle is like a subsection of a cell that is sort of like analogous to our organs. It has its own set task within the cell. So like prokaryotic cells, they don't really have defined organelles. Like a lot of the functions are being carried out just in the cytoplasm all over. They don't have a nucleus. Their DNA and all the proteins and everything is just in this big soup inside the cell. But us eukaryotes who have nuclei, we have definitive organelles. Like there's a mitochondria that has a certain task in the cell. I'm sure that all of you can remember. It's the powerhouse of the cell. But it does its task in its own compartmentalized little area. There's like the Golgi apparatus. There's the like vacuoles. There's different organelles that have different tasks. And so not only is this a new organelle that has dropped, but this is an example of endosymbiosis in the process of happening and evolving. Like, this is huge. I mean, I think before this, we had like maybe 3 definitive examples of endosymbiosis, like the most famous of which are mitochondria, like I just mentioned, and chloroplasts. So endosymbiosis is how is basically the hypothesized mechanism for how mitochondria and chloroplasts became organelles, because they started out as prokaryotic cells that got into a symbiotic relationship with other like, proto-eukaryotic cells, basically. So this is decently common to happen today. Like, you do have bacteria that will actually live inside of other cells and have a symbiotic relationship. This is very common with nitrogen fixing bacteria, where they will actually, like in plant roots, nitrogen fixing bacteria can actually migrate into the plant cells and fix nitrogen. That is, like, take it in an unusable form of nitrogen from the atmosphere and fix it into ammonia that can be used by the plant. So plants need some sort of nitrogen fixing mechanism. They cannot do it on their own. So they have a symbiotic relationship with these bacteria. But here, it's gone beyond just this symbiotic relationship. And you can see the cyan little spheres are the nitroplasts, or what they're calling them, like chloroplasts, but for nitrogen. And you can see here over the process of these cells dividing, like the blue ball is the cell nucleus. I think that the lighter blue color is the chloroplasts, but it's really, really cool here because we actually did not know along what stage of this symbiotic relationship this were. We knew about this algae that could fix nitrogen, but we didn't exactly know how it was doing this. And we knew that there was probably some sort of symbiotic relationship with a nitrogen fixing bacteria, like with plants. But the breakthrough came from finally being able to study this algae over its entire life cycle. And the scientists actually noticed that the little nitrogen fixing cyanobacteria inside these algae cells were actually timing their replication to coincide with the replication of the host algae, so that each daughter copy had one copy of the cyanobacteria. So it's replicating together with the host, which is hallmark of what organelles like our mitochondria do and chloroplasts do. And then a key other aspect to this was that a bunch of the proteins inside these cyanobacteria that the cyanobacteria were using were actually proteins that came from the host algae genome. So these, they're so independent, like interdependent, that some of the genes of the host are being used for their activity, which is something that is seen in mitochondria and chloroplasts. So this has officially, by a strict definition of what is an organelle, met the criteria of being an organelle. So this is literally endosymbiosis in the process of happening, all the way to the point where this is now a new nitroplast organelle being discovered. I mean, this is like pretty huge news in evolutionary science. I mean, the endosymbiosis was a hypothesis. It had a lot of supporting evidence for it, but seeing it actually happening in real time with these algae is incredibly cool. I mean, new cell organelle just dropped. So yeah, these were the science news and the news generally affecting humanity that I want to share from this last week. I noticed that as I was going through that, somebody actually did join the StreamYard, Caden. So Caden, if you're still there and you still wanted to call in, I'm going to be opening it up now for those that want to do call-ins. The link is there posted at the top of the live chat for anybody that wants to join, call in, may have a statement about something that I went over or about a video that I've done, asking a question, posing a challenge or an argument or debate about any of these topics, love to hear from you guys. So I'll open up the calls now. So Caden, if you wanted to rejoin, you can. And I'll be interacting with the chat as well. And we'll just see if there's any takers. But yes, Tyler West highlighted that it's still an ichthyosaur. Did it give birth to a jackrabbit? Then it can't be evidence for evolution. Well, thank you, Mr. Mini Kent Hovind over here. Yeah, everything in South America, India, and Australia are monsters. I would want to push back on that, but like, it's kind of true. I mean, so many of these like incredibly large, terrifying creatures of the past and present exist in these three areas. Over here, Peprax says that we need megalodons back. I'm not so sure that we do need that, actually, Peprex. I'm not so sure that we do. Monkey at the Typewriter said that flat earth debate always seems oxymoronic, like ethical genocide or competent legislature. Monkey's coming in with the jokes, guys. Monkey's coming in with the jokes. Yeah, and that is a big snake, Monkey. It is a big snake, and I guess I got ramen bombed here. Everybody's just highlighting the ramen, the flying spaghetti monster. Let's actually look at some more pictures of siphonophores, because these things are kind of incredible. Like, I literally did not even know that these existed until this discovery from this last week, and yeah, these are kind of like my new favorite guys. Let me share my screen here, because like I think you all are gonna love siphonophores as much as I do, hopefully. Or maybe you'll just think that they're like super weird, because they are super weird, but that's why I love them. Look at these things. Like, have you ever seen more alien looking guys on Earth? Like, these are real. These are pictures. like what is this? What are these organs? Like, and one thing about siphonophores that I learned is that they're actually like not single organisms. They are like colonies of single cells. Like, what is this? What does it do? I just want to like do a deep dive into siphonophore anatomy and like figure out why does it look like this? Like, look at this one. It's like super long and snaky. This one is like a jellyfish. These things are related to jellyfish, by the way, but they're not jellyfish. But look at this. Like, what is this shape? Is this an eyeball? I mean, like, who looks like this? What is this for? What advantage does this have? Like, I gotta know more about these siphonophores. Like, this thing literally looks like it's like out of some sci-fi creation here. Like, what is this doing? What are the purpose of these organs? Like, I can't wrap my head around siphonophores yet. They're like, and I had no idea that they even existed until last week. It was a completely mind-blowing experience for me to just start seeing images of these things existing on the planet at the same time as me. God. Okay. Yeah, Monkey said Nidarians are all aliens. Grayson, you know about mixozoans? I've heard of mixozoans, but I don't know enough about them. Maybe I should Google them. And Zach highlighted that the Portuguese man-o-war is a siphonophore. That makes so much sense, because I knew that the Portuguese man-o-war was like a colonial, like a colony. I knew it wasn't an individual multicellular organism, so that makes sense. But yeah, I guess I always thought of it as a jellyfish, but it wouldn't make sense for it to be a jellyfish. That's really awesome. And hey, Earl, sorry you're late. Better luck next time. Everybody, if you don't want to be late like Earl, remember to hit the bell next to the subscribe button so you can get notified, so that you don't miss any of this and you can interact. SmackDab was talking about endosymbiosis, was initially very fringe. It's actually an unfortunate chapter in science how much Lynn Margulis was maligned when she first proposed it. Yeah, I think that was back in the 70s or something. And yeah, I've seen an interview with Lynn Margulis talking about that. And I mean, it must just be so cool to be actually seeing this discovery that after all those years, validates that initial hypothesis, like literally watching endosymbiosis in the process of happening as like symbiotic cyanobacteria literally becomes a new organelle. Like I can't get over that. A new organelle has dropped. Nitroplasts, guys. It's going to be the next big thing. Yeah. And yeah, let's look at mixozoans. Okay, let's see if we can find some new crazy animals here. So these are looking very, very small. Just in the initial pictures here. Let me share my screen. Mixozoans. Okay, I'm not seeing anything that immediately strikes me as being too crazy. Maybe it's something to do with their life cycle and less of their phenotypes. That's just so crazy about mixozoans. But yeah, they just to my untrained eye in microbiology, they're not immediately standing out. Maybe they have very weird life cycles or something. If you guys know about mixozoans, call in or make a comment explaining to me why I should think that these are so crazy. Cause yeah, I mean they're interesting. I mean they're definitely interesting, but literally just seeing that first image of the flying spaghetti monster, like I felt like I was living on another planet. Yeah. Well, it's looking kind of like we scared away Caden from calling in. It doesn't look like there may be any other takers. Potentially Nathan Thompson is MIA at the moment. I'm going to have to see if he'll still have that debate on flat Earth. I'm interested if any of you guys have any suggestions for any topics that you would want to see me debating in the future. I just did a collaboration with Zach Hancock and Jordan at Reasons to Doubt about race realism. It was just a discussion. It wasn't a debate because obviously, I mean, we all know that race is not biologically a real thing. It's socially constructed. But yeah, I mean, I haven't done a race realism debate on the channel. So far, nobody has come up wanting to do such a debate. I haven't been able to find any race realists, but I'm sure that they will be plenty and abound after that video comes out in the next week or two. So if you guys would want to see me do a race realism debate, I think that would be interesting. I'm also always looking for climate change deniers, as well as, the tried and true young Earth creationists. I mean, I never get tired of listening to some of the silly things that young Earth creationists said. Like, here's a blast from the past. Mercedes F1 fan. Without God, there is no science. Period. Well, I don't think that is actually true at all. I mean, anybody can make any kind of claims, but it reminds me of who did Napoleon ask? Laplace? I think Napoleon asked the famous mathematician, polymath scholar Laplace about what he thinks about God, and his answer was that he's not necessary for my universe. So yeah, I just don't largely see God as being necessary. This is just like a fundamentally presuppositionalist argument. It sounds like of saying, well, you can't even have truth or logic without God, which I think is just fundamentally rests on some fallacious metaphysical assumptions and has nothing to do with science. We can still do science and empiricism. God's not necessary for that picture. And he blasts back and says, we are not apes. We are created independent of apes. Well, sorry, buddy, but if you look at all of the classification criteria for what classifies something as an ape, humans, ding, every single one of those boxes checked. So by any classification system by which you can classify anything as an ape, humans are by definition apes. Let's see. People are responding here. Oh, we are not apes. I think that he might have called in. So we'll get to that as soon as I hear from people if they have anything that wants to. Yes, and I will also be at the new frequency on Wavelength channel. There's going to be a panel discussion on Saturday, and so I will be there for that. Yahooligan might be able to link that or something. So if you guys want to check that out, it's going to be a discussion about debating. So pretty meta. And yep, I agree. Yep, I agree. 206 bones to pick with that. If I remove God from everything, I still have absolutely everything. True. Does anyone does anyone here think Grayson reads emails while waving his arms in the air like that? My arms are stationless while I'm reading the emails. It's just while I'm speaking, my arms get very animated. I think that pretty much everybody in my audience knows that at this point. So let's see if Flat Earth Timmy. I'm pretty sure this is the same as Flat Earth Bob, which is the same as Mercedes F1 fan. Am I correct? You're on mute, Flat Earth Timmy.
You've been debunked numerous times already.
All right, what have I been debunked on? Can you give one example?
I'll give you an analogy, okay?
Wait. I would much prefer an example, like just an example of one time I've been debunked.
You said that science has nothing to do with God. I think that's very arrogant.
Okay, prove it.
It's like a kid who's never been taught anything.
Okay, well, you're giving me analogies when I asked for examples, but okay.
Yeah,
so...
I'm getting there. This kid, he doesn't know anything. He's eager to know. Then he is taught about something, and now that he's taught about something, he's arrogant, and he thinks he is better than the thing that created him and the knowledge that he gained.
Okay, so what's the evidence that any of that is true?
It's true. Look at you. You're a prime example. You think that you can laugh at the thing that made you and that made it possible for you to know things. But you're so arrogant, you're not humble to acknowledge his existence.
Okay, do you have any evidence that God is what created me?
Absolutely. There had to be an uncaused cause. Absolutely 100%. You can't deny that.
Why?
Because you can't deny that.
Well, no, you actually can, because it's not true. You don't need an uncaused cause.
No, what do you mean it's not true?
Would you like me to provide you a source from the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy showing you that that is not true?
Go ahead, let's see.
Okay, I'll pull it up. It's in their Stanford Encycl. Oh, let me share my screen here, actually. We'll do this in real time here. This will be fun. New tab. Here we go. Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, Foundationalism. Or actually, I think it's fundamentality. So here we go. We're talking about, is there a necessity of an uncaused cause? They talk about three different alternatives here. One of them is what you're talking about, which is called foundationalism, where there's a fundamental. Let me see if I can find here. It's been a minute since I've been on this page. They talk about three different forms of, so there's metaphysical foundationalism, metaphysical infinitism, and then there's a third one called coherentism. I don't know.
Infinite regression can't work. And
actually,
no,
all of the current literature on metaphysics has shown that these three options, there is no compelling argument that one is superior than the other. They're all on equal footing in the current understanding of metaphysics and philosophy, logic and science and math, all of them. That you can't say that infinitism is logically impossible or metaphysics.
It's not. You know how I know it's not? Because the metaphysics of infinitism and whatever you said, coherence, these are based on presuppositions. They're not based on evidence.
Well,
the only one that's based on evidence is Uncaused cause. It's
No,
logically
actually,
consistent.
that's also based on
The others,
presuppositions.
no,
So
it's
just to let
not.
you
It's
know,
logically no. It's logically consistent that there's an uncaused cause. It's not logically consistent that things are infinite. That's a
no,
stupid.
that is
If thing,
logically
hold
consistent.
on. If things are infinite, how can we know things? If things are infinite,
You know the number line is infinite, but you can still add individual numbers and get a concrete answer.
no, that's not how that works.
That's how math works. Yes. So
No, we're not. We're
let me
not
just
talking
unpack this
about
really
math.
quick.
Listen,
Timmy,
listen.
let me just unpack this
You're
really quick.
confusing. Hold on. You're confusing math with reality. Okay, math is a language.
No,
It's
I'm giving
completely
you an
different.
example. Remember
No, no,
earlier
no, 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 no.
remember
I'm not
earlier when
allowing
I
you to
asked
run
for an
away with this.
example and you
I'm
gave
not
me an
allowing
analogy?
you. I'm not
Now I'm
allowing you to
giving you
run
a
away with
taste of
this.
your own medicine. Uh-huh.
No. You can't use math to define reality. That's stupid.
I'm not
Okay?
using math to define
Math is a
reality.
language we
I
made
think
up.
you're
We made
fundamentally
up like
confused
math.
about what I
We
was
made up math.
showing.
We decide what the hell math is going to be. All right?
I,
So you can't sit
you're
here and
not
say this
arguing
crap.
with what I'm saying anymore, Timmy. You're not listening to me.
In reality, things cannot be infinite. Period.
Okay. Timmy, you have to take a second and breathe and actually listen to what I'm saying, because right now I feel like you're arguing against points that I'm not making, and you're not listening to me when I'm trying to clarify what point I'm actually making. Can we move past this? Can you let me make a point?
Uh-huh.
Okay, thank you. So I was showing you that when you have something infinite, say the infinite number line, right? I'm not saying that in reality there's an infinite number line, right? Numbers are abstractions, but you can have infinites. You can take integrals of infinities and get definite values. You can get definite conclusive values and slices out of infinity. Okay. Just because you have an infinite number of things doesn't mean that things like knowledge or existence or time are impossible. Okay. Logically speaking, there is no logical inconsistency
Are you
with
done?
a past that is infinite.
Okay, are you done? All right. So
I
this
feel
is
like
known
you were
as a
just waiting
logical.
for
This
me
is
to
known as a
finish
logical.
and waiting so
Oh
you
my
could talk.
god. Oh my god. This is known as a logical fallacy. You're appealing to mathematics, okay? And this is what people like you do today in the modern times. They're so stupid. They haven't been educated in anything that they think that if they I can appeal to math and therefore no, that's not how that works, okay? It's philosophy and logic first, then math. Not the other way around, okay? You don't get math first and then you derive logic from it.
Okay.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my entire existence
Okay.
on this
Let's pump the
goddamn
brakes
planet.
on the hyperbole there,
It's
buddy.
the bloody
I got it. You're going on for a bit
stupidest
now.
thing.
Fine. We don't have to reference math at all if that makes you, triggered. We can just talk about logic. There is no logical inconsistency with a past infinite universe. If you say
Yes,
that there
there
is,
is.
please demonstrate the logical inconsistency.
Okay, how can we know anything in an infinite timeline? How can we
Can you explain
derive? How
why?
can we hold on? Stop. How can we derive foundational truths in an infinite timeline? There is no such thing as foundational truths in an infinite timeline.
Okay, you've said
There
the
isn't.
same. You've said the same thing 3 times now.
And you're appealing to math, which is stupid.
I already said let's just throw math out the window since you don't like it. Let's just
No,
talk
you
about
can't
logic.
derive. Oh my god, my brain.
You
You have to
gotta
have
let
first.
the other person talk some of the time. Okay, I was trying to ask you a clarifying question here. Can you explain to me why an infinite past would have anything at all to do with our ability to come to knowledge or truth? Why are those two things related?
Okay, so they're related because if things are infinite, then the supposed foundational truths are also infinite. So you can never know anything because there is always something underlying it because it's infinite. Okay,
So
so
here's the
if you live in an infinite existence,
wait,
then
just rest on that point.
you can
You made
never
one
truly
point.
know something because there are
Okay,
no
you got it. You don't
finite
need to repeat
numbers.
yourself. You made your point already. Okay, listen. It's true that in infinitism, there is no foundation. Okay, there's no metaphysical causative foundation, but it's not necessary to have one. You do not need, in order to make truth or knowledge claims, you do not need to reference them to some sort of metaphysical foundation. That is not necessary.
Oh my God. Oh, yes, it is. It is
Well,
necessary.
it's not necessary though. This
It is
literally
necessary.
okay, I'm gonna give you some homework here. Read the article on fundamentality from Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. You will see that the actual philosophers and metaphysicists do not say that it's necessary. In fact, the
And
consensus
they're
in the field
stupid.
is that
They're like, listen, they're like you, man. They're exactly like you.
okay.
They're
So
appealing to
thank you for
math.
calling me exactly like the
No,
consensus
no,
of
they,
philosophers and metaphysicists. Earlier, you said I didn't know anything, and now you're saying that I'm expressing to you the consensus of the
with
field.
all due respect, you are appealing to math. Okay, you're
No, I'm not.
appealing to a
We
you're
threw out
appealing to
math.
a
We threw it out
subject.
already.
You're appealing to a subject that is derived from logic. Instead of using logic, you're using math. That's inconsequential.
No, I'm using
And
logic here. I'm not using math. Remember, we threw
no,
math
you
out.
literally brought up that you literally brought up the number line. I
And
mean,
then we
come
decided
on.
to throw that out. Do you
So
remember that part of the
no,
conversation?
you don't understand. You don't understand. Math is completely different. Math has its
No,
own language.
Timmy, stop.
It,
Why are
it,
you
it
so focused on math? We are beyond math, right? We moved past it. Remember, we did this together. We
yeah,
helped.
but
We
the
took hand
article
in
that
hand
you
and we moved
referenced,
past it. And you
the
keep wanting
article
to
that
dwell
you
on it.
referenced, the article that you referenced,
Yes.
those people in the article,
Yes.
those logicians, the supposed logicians and philosophers,
Mm-hmm.
they're appealing to math just like you.
They're not,
Okay?
though. There's not any
No, but
math
they
in this whole
are.
article.
They're not utilizing philosophical tropes. They're using math to be like, oh, because math has this, then therefore this must also be the case.
No,
No,
they're
that's
really
not how
not,
that
though.
works. That's
They're
very
not doing that at
stupid.
all.
They are. If you actually
No, but
read through it, they are.
wait. Hold on. Have you read this article?
Yes, I have, and they're literally
You
doing that.
have. I think
Yes,
that's a lie, Timmy.
it's not a lie.
I don't think that you have seen this article before I just brought it up to you today.
Oh my God, I knew about the article.
I don't think you did.
It's an article that atheists keep bringing up because they're too stupid. They don't know anything. But the reality is this, right?
Uh-huh.
You can't appeal to something that is dependent on on logic. That's very like naive.
So now we're throwing away logic and math.
No. Math is dependent on logic. Okay, so why are you going straight to math? Why can't you just rely on the logic? Is
Remember,
it
we're
because there's
moving past
nothing
math.
in
I don't know why
logic that
you
actually
keep bringing it
demonstrates
up.
that?
We're beyond that
Hold
now,
on.
Timmy.
Do you believe in truthfulness?
Sure, empirically.
Okay, well, in logic, they don't exist.
Okay.
There's no such thing as true in logic.
Truth is that which comports with reality. I have empiricism for truth.
Do you think truth is a property of propositions?
Sure, if it comports with reality, then it's true.
No, that's not. Again, that's not how that works. So there is no such thing as truthfulness in logic.
If it comports with reality, it's true, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Hold on. Truthfulness. Hold on. I'm going to educate you. Truthfulness it was a concept that was derived in mathematics. Okay, it's only useful in math.
See, I feel like you're the one who keeps bringing up math, like, and won't drop it. But you
No,
keep
because
saying
I'm
I'm
trying
the one that's so
to
stuck
show
on math.
you. No, because I'm trying to show you how the modern philosopher is using math to corroborate with reality, and that's stupid.
So I find it funny that earlier you were accusing me of being arrogant when now you're the one saying that you know better than modern philosophers.
Because I actually use my brain.
Oh, okay. So wait. I'm the arrogant one, but you're the one saying that modern philosophers don't use their brain, and that's why your thinking is superior to theirs. Am I getting that correct?
God is superior to man.
Oh, wait. Are you conflating yourself
What's your
with God
point?
now?
That's
Because
not
I
a
asked
plate.
you
That's not coming.
particularly. I asked
That's
you,
not.
Timmy, and you
That's
now
not
are
coming from a.
equating
It's not
yourself to
coming from a
God.
place of. It's not coming from a place of arrogance. It's just that these people that you run to and be like, this guy's a philosopher, we have to believe him. He has false understanding.
And he's false according to you, right?
No, it's.
Okay,
You
wait. So
literally
now
told me
you
that
think for
truthfulness.
God. What you think is the same as what God thinks, right?
No, but you literally said there's something called truthfulness, right?
Yeah, I defined it too.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't actually exist. There's no such thing as truthfulness.
Oh, wait. So now you just don't think that truthfulness exists?
No. Again, it's
You're a
it's a
troll,
it's a
man. There's no way that
hold
you
on, hold
seriously
on.
believe
It's
these
a
things.
mathematical property. It's only associated with math, and people confuse that. They think, oh, because it's associated with math, it must also be associated with reality. It's not the case. There is no such thing as truthfulness in reality.
Now you're just denying truth. Are you a solipsist?
I'm not a solipsist. I'm a theist. But the thing is, you need to learn to differentiate between what is found in math and what is found in reality,
No, I
and what
get
is
it. The
found in
map is not
logic.
the territory. I totally get it, Timmy. I agree that math is a
So
description of
you agree with
reality.
me?
It's
There
not
is no
reality
such thing
itself.
as you agree. There's no such thing as truthfulness.
No, I define truthfulness as that which comports with reality. Okay.
In terms of logic, that's what I'm talking about. Can propositions be true?
Sure, if they comport with reality.
No, they can't. That's the thing. They can't.
Okay, I
Logically,
think
they
we're going
can't.
in circles here. You literally don't even believe in truth. So, like, what's the point of talking to you?
Because God is real, and you can't have science without a God.
Okay,
And
show
that's,
me evidence that God is real.
I just told you the uncaused cause. Like
And again, I
intelligent design.
explained how
Intelligent design is another one.
the
Intelligent design. Look around
consensus
us.
of
Look.
philosophers and metaphysicists disagree with you on that as saying it's not necessary. That's just metaphysical foundationalism is only one of three potential options, which are all equally valid.
Okay, so then can
Infinitesimal
you
and
explain?
coherentism.
Can you explain what would happen if I took away all the animals on this planet?
Then there would be no animals on the planet.
There would be no planet,
What?
right?
Yes, there would
Because
still be a planet.
the way God created the earth, right?
What? What?
He created the flora, right? And then he created other flora to manage the flora that exists. And then he created animals, and then he created another set of animals to manage the animals that exist. This is a system. Okay, we exist in a natural system where things manage each other. And
Timmy, true or false? Are there planets with no animals on them?
but there's no ecosystem on them either.
Exactly. But if you take the animals away, you still have the planet.
No, you don't. You don't have any ecosystem. You have
No,
nothing.
again,
Because
ecosystems are a different thing than planets, dude.
it's not an independent. It's not independent organisms. It's
Yeah. I agree with
interdependent.
that.
It's
Can you acknowledge
interdependent.
the fact
So
that
if you, for
planets are
example,
not the same thing as
if you
ecosystems?
took away lions, then you would have an overpopulation of antelopes,
No, I
which
get
then
that.
they will
Timmy,
destroy the
I
environment.
get what you're
So
saying there.
what I'm saying is, hold on.
No, can you just
You
please
can't.
clarify? Please,
Hold on.
before you go on, Timmy,
I'm
can you
getting
just
there.
please
I'm getting
clarify
there.
one thing, Timmy? Just clarify one thing. Do you acknowledge that planets are not the same thing as ecosystems?
You know exactly what I was referring to there. Like, what's the point?
Well, you said that the planet wouldn't exist without animals on it, man. I mean, what
Yeah,
is
I
your
mean,
point?
obviously, I'm referring to the ecosystem, referring
No,
to the
that's not
system that we
obvious,
remain
Timmy.
in.
That was not obvious.
I think it is. I think everyone can understand what that meant.
They don't. They objectively
So
don't understand.
you can't have evolution, right? Because these things have to have been created on the
No,
spot.
there was evolution before there were animals.
Because in order to have a system of interdependent parts, the things need to be all pre-assembled, and then put into place.
Okay. Would you
You
like for me to
can't
debunk
have a
you on that?
system. You can't have a system of interdependent organisms co-evolving, and then that can't work.
Would you like me to
That
show you
literally can't work.
exactly what you just said you cannot do?
Huh?
Exactly. A system of interdependent, like a system of interdependent parts that is evolving over time in an actual experiment.
No, that can't. No, no. You
Wait, would you
can't
like me to show
have.
you exactly that in the lab actually happening?
No, you can't have that. It's logically
Okay, well,
impossible.
let me show you exactly what you just claimed is impossible. That I'll show
No.
you the
You don't
experiment that
understand. You
proved
don't
it.
understand. It's logically impossible.
Right here.
So in logic,
The
you can't have
evolutionary
a.
transition. Wait, right here. The evolutionary transition from a single RNA replicator to a multiple replicator network. Let me just explain what this is. They started with a single RNA replicator in their lab, and it would replicate itself and its sequence, and it would continue to replicate. And they just let that go and observed what happened over time. And over time, 5 sub varieties of this RNA evolved. And the entire network was replicating. All 5 of these new RNA subtypes that did not exist prior to the experiment starting evolved, and they were all necessary. If you took one of those 5 parts out, the entire system was no longer able to replicate. This is exactly what you're describing, and this is exactly showing you that it can evolve naturally.
No, that's not what I'm referring to. I'm not referring to from a single point. I'm saying you can't have, logically, you can't have an interdependent system
Here it is.
that is able to evolve. This is talking about from a single thing.
No. It
From a single
evolved into what you're describing, which is an interconnected system where every single part was necessary for the functioning of the whole. They all relied on each other, all 5 of those components. And you're saying that those systems cannot evolve naturally. And this is exactly demonstrating that evolution.
Okay, then maybe let me clarify this. If I began an interdependent system and one of the parts was, it prematurely developed, do you think that that system would continue?
Sorry, can you repeat that one more time? Would the system continue if what?
If I created an interdependent system,
Yes.
and one of the parts was prematurely or underdeveloped, let's say they were underdeveloped, do you think that
Can you
the
just say
other
removed?
parts would? Huh?
Can you just say removed if you were just remove one of the parts?
Not removed, because then it wouldn't be an interdependent system.
No, it would
Just
be. The system would
one
fail.
of the
That's why it was
one of
interdependent.
the parts was underdeveloped, right? Let's say one of the parts was underdeveloped. Do you
Okay.
think that this interdependent system would continue to exist?
It would depend on the system. Some systems would fail, and other systems would just continue at a less efficiency. It would just depend on the specifics. But here, in this example, they literally did that. They removed one of the 5 components, and the entire system failed to be able to. It couldn't replicate anymore. It failed because one of the components was removed. This is exactly what you are describing, Timmy. Exactly what you're describing, and it evolved in the course of this experiment.
Evolved from what, though?
A single RNA replicator that the experiment started
Right,
with.
that's a single thing. I'm saying that this system we live in began as an interdependent system,
Right. You
as in there
understand
were
that the
many different
actual.
parts.
You're right. I get it. But you understand that the consensus view in science is a universal common ancestor, an abiogenesis from one type of replicator, right? You understand that that's the
That can't
consensus?
work. That can't work. There is no common ancestor. There's a common designer.
Yeah, all right,
Right,
you
like-
keep saying that, but I'm not asking you what you think. I'm asking you to acknowledge that the current scientific consensus is universal common ancestry and abiogenesis, right? You agree that's the current
We
consensus?
have
I know you
no
disagree with
evidence
that.
for abiogenesis. In fact, there is literally a organic chemist on YouTube.
You were
who-
breaking
who
up a bit
debunks.
there.
Hello, can you hear me?
Are you talking about?
I don't know. I forgot what his name was, but I think his name was James.
You're talking about Jim Tour. I have interacted with him, and I've shown him to be wrong. And I asked him to debunk what I said, and he blocked me instead. Like,
Wait. So
I showed
wait.
him to be wrong.
But this whole time you've been appealing to these scientists.
Timmy,
but when I do
FYI,
it, when I appeal to a scientist, you immediately throw it out the window.
because Timmy, the most popular video on my channel is me debunking the scientist that you brought up. It's literally the
But
most
you
popular
can't
video on my
debunk a
channel.
scientist.
No, I did debunk him because his argument was
Okay.
based on unjustified assumptions.
It's not.
It
He
is. I showed
literally-
it. You haven't even. You're making claims about things that you don't know about.
Yeah, but the thing is, neither do you.
I
Like, that's the
debunked
thing,
his
like-
argument, and he wasn't able to come back from it. I literally took this to him face to face. I was face to face with him. I said, "Please justify your assumptions that are underlying this," and he was unable to do so.
Okay, so you're saying that abiogenesis, there's evidence for abiogenesis, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, then you're just naive, man. I hate to break it to you.
Dude, you know that I have videos on my channel going through the evidence for abiogenesis, right?
But you know that's not evidence.
I show the evidence in
Like,
those videos.
hold on. Me using something that already exists and then replicating it is not evidence,
Again,
right? You
this
need to be able to show me
really
life
quick,
from
Timmy,
nothing. You have to show me life from
Timmy,
absolutely
I want to
basic
be very
components.
clear with you here. This is not a paper showing evidence for abiogenesis. That's not anything. I never claimed that to be the case. The authors never claimed that to be the case. You're trying to put that on this paper and change the
No, I'm
subject
not talking
to
about this
abiogenesis
paper.
because you
I'm not.
got.
I'm not talking about this paper. I'm saying in the abiogenesis field, they think that they can create life. That's ridiculous.
No, they
Because
don't.
all they're doing, I'll tell you what they're doing. They're taking something that already exists and then they're replicating it. That's not. You can't take something that already exists
Yeah,
and
no,
replicate it.
you're fundamentally missing the point, right? If you take non-living organic molecules, right, that's taking something that already exists. And then if you get a self-replicating chemical system capable of undergoing Darwinian evolution, that's the first step in abiogenesis. Okay, you're not like life in
Yeah, but
abiogenesis. Life does not just pop out of nowhere.
you can't create those non-organic
Oh,
you
sorry.
can't create that.
You're saying that you cannot create self-replicating chemical systems capable of undergoing Darwinian evolution?
You can't. You can't
Really?
do that because the thing is that that's very evil of you for bringing that up, because like you're basically, this
It's
is what you're
evil
saying.
of me.
Yeah. The thing is you can't create the basic components necessary to do that though. That's the thing. You can't create the necessary components to actually do that thing
Yes, you
mentioned.
can. Why do
Oh,
you think that you
so
can't?
you can create nitrogen from nothing then, can you?
You can create. No one's creating anything from nothing. Why do you keep saying that?
Isn't that what you're claiming?
No,
Then how do these things magically appear?
they don't magically appear. What are you
Okay,
talking
if they
about?
don't magically appear, I want you to recreate it properly.
You mean like just do abiogenesis in
No,
a
I
lab?
want you to do it from first order principles,
Is
not from
is that a
third order,
necessary
not
criteria?
from fourth order, from first order. Okay?
So do you not believe volcanoes exist unless we can perfectly replicate a volcano in a lab?
That's so fallacious.
Well,
That
no,
is
because
so
look, wait,
fallacious.
here we go.
Because
There's
that's a
evidence that volcano exist, and you don't need to recreate a volcano in the lab for that evidence to be valid, right? You agree with that?
no. You're making the claim that these things naturally evolved. If you're
Yeah.
going to make that claim, then you need to show that from first order principles, not from third order and then
Well,
taking
you
on
can
things that
show the
already
evidence.
exist. That's what the hell?
Yeah, you can show evidence that abiogenesis occurred without recreating the exact process in the lab. You acknowledge that? Yes or no?
No, I don't acknowledge that,
But you do
because
acknowledge that that
what the
principle
thing
holds
is,
true for
I
something like
can
volcanoes, right?
acknowledge chemical reactions. I can acknowledge biological reactions, right? When you fuse certain things together, something's going to happen. I acknowledge reactions. I acknowledge biological reactions. But what I don't acknowledge is this idea that, oh, I can take this existing biological reaction and this other thing that already exists, and if I mix them together, that means evolution. That's fucking stupid.
Yeah, well, nobody's saying
That's
that. So
so stupid.
congratulations on your straw man, Timmy. Nobody is saying that. I don't think that you're listening very closely here, to be honest. Okay, look, all I was making was that in principle, for you to substantiate that something exists and have evidence for its existence, you do not need, it is not necessary to recreate it in a lab. Just as a matter of principle, that is the case. We have evidence that abiogenesis occurred, both record, the fact that the farther you go, you get individual single cells, like at the very bottom of the fossil record, okay, that at least traces through evolutionary history and goes back to the single cellular level. Now, if you think that a supernatural miracle was necessary for life to form, you'd have to show that to be the case. But we do have self-replicating chemical systems that form without being designed, that undergo or are capable of undergoing Darwinian evolution. And I show that in my video about
That
the
doesn't,
amyloid world hypothesis. I show the papers
with all
that
due respect,
demonstrate that.
with all due respect, that doesn't demonstrate anything. All that demonstrates
Are
is
you
that there's a
serious?
all that demonstrates is that there's a biological chemical reaction. That's all that demonstrates.
Okay, Timmy, look, you've denied truth. You've denied math. You've
Yeah,
denied
because it's
evidence.
it
I
logically
think
it's
you're through. We have another caller now. So thank
okay,
you
that's
for
fine.
calling and having an
All
entertaining
right. Thank you so
conversation.
much.
Yeah. Thanks, Timmy. All right. Now we're gonna add Caden back to the mix. Caden, I saw that you joined in earlier while I was still going through the news from last week. So thanks for coming back in during the call-in portion. Was there something specific that you wanted to talk about? Can you hear me, Caden? Well, it seems that Caden might be having some audio issues. While we wait for him to get his mic sorted out, I don't think that he's muted on my end or anything. Um, let's see what some of you guys were talking about. Is a new caller all it takes to get rid of Timmy? Yes. If new callers come in, I will make room for them so they don't have to wait around for too long. Riv, nice to see you. Glad you didn't miss it. You kind of missed a lot of it, but please go back and check it out because I thought that was a pretty funny conversation. Honestly, that was entertaining to me at least. Maybe it was a little painful for some of you guys, but at least the science news is worth going back and listening to because there was a lot of awesome news in science this last week. And yeah, like the stream, people. Thank you. I always appreciate your likes and your comments on both in the live chat and after the video's up. Always appreciate that. I love reading you guys' comments, even the weird ones. At least they're entertaining. Yeah, why do they always conflate abiogenesis and evolution? I don't know, man. I really, as soon as you nail him on one thing, like he was making the irreducible complexity argument, and then you nail him on that, you show a paper that directly refutes what he's saying, and then all of a sudden it switches to abiogenesis. How does that happen, Oh yeah. Duh, just create a big bang. I mean, if you can't create a big bang in the lab, did it ever really happen? Nick asked, do I have a list of my top 10 favorite abiogenesis papers? No, I don't really keep a running list like that. Honestly, I need to get better at organizing the papers. Like that RNA paper that I just brought up in that exchange, I didn't have it saved or anywhere. I had to like remember the title and Google it while having that conversation. Generally, when I make references to papers, it's just like me frantically Googling to try to find the paper that I was like thinking of. So I really do need to get more organized and like putting like papers of note that I use a lot in like some sort of organized document. I do need to get better at that. And yeah, that's a really good point from Nitty about like, is nitrogen a first order principle? He's like, you need to show it from first order principles. And so it's like, yeah, what does that mean? Is he talking about molecules? Is he talking about fundamental particles? Like, it's kind of a nonsensical statement to make. I mean, the guy definitely was a little high on his own supply there. And yeah, just really, some guys, man, just need, they'll do anything rather than going to therapy. Yeah, his evidence criteria rely on a philosophy that has axioms of truth he's rejecting. Move the goalpost from bio to origin of materials. Yeah, there's a lot of moving the goalpost in that exchange. Caden, is that you? I think I just heard your microphone work. Yeah, I'm definitely hearing something. Maybe we'll give Caden a little bit longer here. Let's see. Nitty said that was infuriating. Sorry, Nitty. Yeah, Timmy has one presupposition that disagreeing with me is stupid. It did kind of come across that way. Yeah, it needs some serious self-reflection. The flaw in your science is it didn't support his God presupposition, therefore invalid. I also heard that cough, Earl. Was on a show the other day that was crazy. maybe. All right. Well, I thought this was a pretty successful stream. I get itchy for debates. Not many people have been taking debates, so I'll take even the debates like Timmy. I actually enjoy arguing. So sorry if you guys found that infuriating, but I was having fun with that, and I loved getting to recap all the cool science news with you this week.
Oh,
Oh, Caden, are you with us?
yes.
Nice. Leo Phileas in the comments, he called it. Just wait a little bit longer before shutting down, because I was right about to shut it down. I didn't think that you had joined us. Thanks for coming back. I noticed that you joined earlier in the stream while I was still going over the news and then dropped. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that you could return. Did you have anything in specific that you wanted to call in about?
So, a couple. I had noticed. Oh,
Okay. Okay, are you
I
kind
have
of seem like you're moving around a
autism.
whole lot. All I heard was that you noticed something.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I don't know what's going on, Caden. Can you hear me? All right. Well, thanks. Thank you for calling in, Caden. I don't know how to respond to that, but Caden, he noticed something. Maybe tonight's just not a good night. Maybe he can come back with another next week. I will be doing this each Thursday. Leo said that I should still wait like 7 minutes. I don't know if Leo is trying to join or not, but at this point, we're going on about an hour and a half. I did have a good discussion with Caden and whatever that was with Timmy. So Leo, I will have to ask you for a favor. Join me next week. Call in next Thursday. I'll be doing a stream like this every Thursday, recapping the latest news in science and humanity, and then opening it up for people to call in. So I'm going to be shutting it down for now, but Leo, I hope to see you next week, and I hope that you guys watching this can think of something that you want to talk to, something that you want to question, anything about any of my videos or anything. And yeah, I will look forward to next week, and let me know what you guys thought of the news from this week, what you thought of those interactions with Caden and Timmy. And yeah, Leo, I hope to hear your thoughts on this next week. So thank you all for being here tonight. Always a pleasure. I love you guys in the audience. Please like and hit the notification bell so that you can join here next Thursday. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and remember to stay curious and keep learning.